Okay, welcome back. Very pleased we've managed to get Rachel connected onto the platform. What I'd like to do is introduce you to our final presenter of this morning. So it's Dr. Rachel Bence, who's the CIO of Queen Mary University London. Really pleased to be able to introduce Rachel today to share her own story about how QMUR work with Britannic to really support the digital journey from clearing to inquiry management. So, Rachel, over to you. Thank you.
Hi there, everybody. Hope you can hear me, and if you can't, hopefully Jonathan will give me a nudge there, but sorry for the technical delay. It always happens to the CIO, doesn't it? But anyway, so I'd just like to share with you, as Jonathan said, the digital journey to inquiry management. So what I'm going to share with you today is a bit of a background in the digital context we have at the university that I'm the CIO at, which is Queen Mary University of London. We'll look at the impact of COVID-19, the project that Britannic were involved in to deliver the new clearing technology, what was the result of that, and really our next steps in inquiry management, and then obviously questions. Just a bit of a background about me. My first degree is in theoretical physics from Royal Holloway, University of London. I then went off and studied a particle physics PhD, and I got that in '91, so you can tell how old I am. And since then I've worked in IT, systems engineering, aerospace, Airbus, and then in HE since 2015. I've had some really tough challenges as I've gone, built new departments and teams from scratch very frequently. And I started in Bristol, actually, so this is my sort of second university. I'm not really an IT geek, so I've done a lot of things, but I haven't really got a background in computer science, as it were, but I'm really passionate about making IT work and add value in an HE context. And that's a fantastic context to work in. HE is really a totally different environment to all others. It's very, very collaborative rather, and it's a very unusual environment, in fact. So I'm going to say a little bit about Queen Mary facts and figures. So we basically pride ourselves on our growth and our quality and inclusion. That really is our unique selling point when it comes to our strategy, and we are really delivering on that one, to be honest. We've offer over 240 degree programs across our 3 faculties. Medicine and dentistry is the Barts and London famous medical school, and that is really in the top 3 in the world. We're part of the Russell group of universities, which are research intensive. We have 5 campuses in London, and we have 3 sites around the world, China, Paris and Malta. And as I said before, we are really very well ahead of other groups in terms of diversity on a number of metrics. Times Higher Good University Guide basically showed that in terms of their statistics. You might have seen that a few weeks back when they brought their university guide out. And we were runner-up to actually Oxford in terms of University of the Year, which is really good news. So we have a huge number of students and staff. But what's really interesting is our metrics. So in terms of our undergraduate intake, we've got 90% from state schools, 70% from BA/ME backgrounds, 57% are the very first in their family to go to university, which is really interesting. And rather disturbingly, 27% are from households where the income is less than 10,000 a year, which is extraordinary. So we've got a big digital challenge there, as you can imagine. Having said that, we've got 9 Nobel Prize winners from our staff and students. And this year, one of our former students, Gabriel Krause, was nominated for the Booker Prize. So we've got rather superb alumni there. Challenges across higher education. Really, this is probably going across the whole of higher education at the moment. There is no doubt that we're living in interesting times. This is a quote from our Vice Principal and President, Colin Bailey. The turbulence in national and international sector and politics and economies across the world is completely unprecedented. So we've got some incredible challenges there, really. global engagement and connectivity, our research environment with the onset of China and India coming up fast in terms of research competitiveness, huge funding turbulence, as you can imagine. We have cyber security challenges. You might have seen that in the news recently. We have a lot of technical debt in our digital infrastructure and in our physical environment. We need to keep attracting international students. And then there's the whole thing about offering distance learning, different different sort of courses, masters, CPD modules, etc. is a real challenge. And actually our students have increasing needs. So the needs and expectations of students is really soaring. And obviously they're all paying for their experience now, so want to get some value from it, quite understandably so. So this offers some amazing challenges for IT services. So really we are challenged to offer a really effective digital workplace to facilitate agile and remote working for all of our stakeholders, be it staff, student, partners, NHS partners we have, midst and post-COVID. So that's really the challenge of the CIO at the moment, to offer that digital workplace. And we have to make sure that we're continuously modernising our infrastructure and our applications for teaching and research and administration. SLAs are becoming increasingly important, and that we provide innovative capability, and we have the resilience there that people expect these days. So the other challenge we have is increased time to market, and I hope this presentation will show a little bit about that, which it really is important. So we need to make sure that we have cutting edge technologies to attract our students, to support and engage with students and staff, which is where contact and inquiry management comes in. One of my other challenges I mentioned is keeping the university cyberspace in that global environment, because we are increasingly at the mercy of state actors and hacktivists and professional criminal gangs. We really want to make sure Queen Mary is a data-driven organisation. This is increasingly important, and again, this project relates to that. And increasingly, we're looking to solve digital productivity issues, use of AI, robotic process automation, etc., to manage our basic processes. And on top of all that, obviously, we're challenged to keep our costs down, which really is a challenge sometimes. So I'm just going to go through how we used to do clearing. So probably many of you are familiar with clearing. Those of you who have teenage children, or you've been through the clearing process yourself, it's always the second week of August. It's one of the most important days for the university. It is the A-level day when our teenagers that have just finished sixth form have their A-levels presented to them, and universities then have to respond to that challenge. And on that day, the students will either make the grades or they won't, and then a conversation has to happen as to whether they are still going to be admitted to their first choice, whether they take their insurance choice, or if they've done particularly well, whether they want to sort of try and go for another institution. So there's lots and lots of potential scenarios that happen on that day. And every year we have months and months of preparation. And back in February of this year, we were discussing which rooms we were going to be using on Queen Mary to run our traditional call centre, which was going to be mainly voice, with the new online form feature, which is going to be the big sort of innovation of the year, so people could log in and register online rather than using the phone. Another one of our major challenges is to train students, and we were using students quite extensively last year, to how to use a telephone handset, an old-fashioned handset, because actually they very rarely used a handset. So that was quite an innovation challenge there. Then obviously COVID hit, and we had to spend our April really sorting out, sorry, I'm getting the slides confused, using our remote clearing work, getting our remote working for the university sorted out. So putting in Teams, video conferencing, making sure all our applications ran off site, sending out laptops to students and staff so they could basically interact from home. So by late April, we were really returning to plans for clearing. And one of our decisions was that remote call centre was really the only option. So we needed a plan, and we really needed one quickly. And the sector really, and Queen Mary this year, was likely to be highly dependent on clearing because of the uncertainty around the grade situation, whether students wanted to come to university or not. There was some thinking early on that people wouldn't want to, and they want to take a year off, and therefore we would be highly dependent on that day for intake. So there was a lot of heightened anxiety, if you like, around that situation. So we really had 3 months just to design, build and test a brand new contact centre. And actually being in London, and if you remember back in the spring, London was really most badly affected, unlike now, in comparison to other areas. So we really didn't think it was appropriate to ask contact agents to come onto campus. So we said our agents really must be able to work from home and work remotely. And with that, we also wanted a bigger, better contact centre than last year. So we wanted to increase the number of call agents to 400, and it's previously around 150, I think. And we really wanted to take advantage of new and innovative technology. And bearing in mind, this is drop-dead timescales, so you can't slip. I mean, clearing every year, as I said, is middle of August. This year it's the 13th of August, and you really can't slip that. Moreover than that, on the 6th of July, we also had early clearing, which is where if you don't have an offer at all from any university, you can start applying. So we had to be really ready for that date. So we have very little time to configure the call centre, to get Ignite to work for us, to check all of our things and to do some testing. And that's really just the high level plan. So we basically really worked in partnership on that one, and I'll come back to that. But this graph really shows how contingent and how dependent we are on having the technology ready to go. So at 7:30 on the day, the call centre opens up. And then you have about 2 hours when the vast majority of your calls and contacts will take place. And if you're not ready to go, then you are not going to have those offers made and those students coming. So it's really, really, really important. So those first 2 to 3 hours are phenomenally important. So that's at the front of every single CIO's mind right across the sector. So what were our sort of objectives? Well, we wanted remote distributed clearing with a live chat option and online inquiry handling alongside our traditional telephony. And we wanted to obviously work with a standard university-wide infrastructure. So as I said, we really wanted to increase the channels for handling inquiries to become a lot more modern. So we were adding chatbot and the social media streams using the Britannic inbox capability. And that really does improve customer service and increases efficiency right across those functions that support recruitment admission. So that was our main targets, to basically add in those extra channels. We also needed to capture inquirer data to allow us to basically transfer data to the CRM so we could do targeted communications. And we needed to basically be able to capture that whole data from initial prospect, i.e. a prospective student, to a fully enrolled student. So the following subsequent years, we can target our marketing and recruitment activities very efficiently. So basically the other thing was queuing. So we needed to basically be able to queue our inquiries and to present to agents via a dashboard, which is really what the whole thing is about. Manage our availability of agents, so we know whether they're here or not. Be able to transfer calls between our agents, and the use of chatbots is a real boon as well. So we really needed to work in partnership between admissions, marketing and communications, IT services and our supplier. And our training of agents was really incredibly important. We used staff volunteers and included our academics from across the institution in the whole hotline thing. And I've said there that it was one of the most successful cross-team collaboration projects we've ever run. And I think one of the reasons was we were very time limited. So that was positive. So just a bit about our clearing agent training journey. So we did really invest in hours and hours of clearing for our agents, which is really, really important. So we basically introduced them to the concept of clearing, why it was important, their roles and responsibilities. Then we went on and looked at the policy around training, what the decision rules were, and how to triage students. And the other thing is the actual training around having students that were not going to be very, very happy on the day. So as you can imagine, on the day, their results were subject to the famous algorithm, if you remember, and our agent staff really had to deal with lots and lots of people and students who were potentially in a really quite upset state and emotionally upset. So there was some soft skills around that as well. So on top of the sort of complex decision making and triaging and customer care as well, we basically introduced them to Ignite. So they understood Ignite, how to use the voice chat and online calls, customer journey around that, and that was and how practically hands-on training on using Ignite and the soft phones as well. So our go live was the 13th, and that was a really, really good program, I think. One of the things that I insisted on as CIO was that we dealt just with Britannic as our tier 1 supplier. So Britannic had several other suppliers working with them. They had Mitel, they had BizView and so on. But we liaised solely with Britannic across the whole technology stack throughout the project. And I think that worked really well. And Britannic did rise to the occasion on that one. Another thing I insisted on was that our remote agents had to have a single laptop, Queen Mary managed laptop, which basically made the environment consistent, and it meant that we could dip in and support them if we needed to. So that was really important. The most important thing, though, was doing extensive load testing. So we performed load testing on all our channels between our applicants, our agents, and we used a mixture of automation of calls and also staff to generate calls where we needed to test the transfer process. That was really, really important. And we did lots and lots and lots of testing. Testing did expose issues that we mainly rectified before clearing, which was great. So our business continuity and DR plans also had to be in tip-top conditions. So we made sure that all of the systems that we relied on had those plans in place and that were available to all, and what would happen if one of them sort of disappeared. Real-time IT support was really important. We understood the broadband capabilities of all of our agents, which suppliers they were in, where they were geographically located, and we basically gave them instructions on how to tether to their phones if they're broadband collapsed. So we really did think it through in terms of connectivity for our agents. So as a result, I would say after all this planning and project management, we were able to really successfully communicate on the day with our applicants through their favoured channels. So some of the statistics at the end of Thursday, which was A-level day, the first day, we'd handled over 9,000 calls. We had a 91% call answer rate, which is great. On average, people had to wait about nearly 3 to 4 minutes, which basically is an improvement on the previous year. And on average, each call took about 6 minutes, which was what we were sort of hoping for, I think. We handled about 259 SMSs, 152 live chats, and lots of WhatsApp messages as well, 575 WhatsApp messages. So you might think that looks a bit low, but bearing in mind, this was the first year we'd offered this technology, and people are quite wedded to their phones when they've got their A-level results. They really do want to call in. But I mean, I do think that having those channels will really improve our capability in subsequent years when people, start really wanting to use those channels in anger. And we made a lot more offers at the same point than the previous year in 2019. So we're really, really pleased with that. That's a bit of a graph in terms of 2019 is the dotted line, i.e. last year. and it shows the contacts that the system offered to our applicants. So we have voice, you can see as the major one, but chat, SMS and WhatsApp were also featuring there as well. So interesting, slight change. I think it was probably more down to the nature of the day really this year rather than last year. So people were still, 1 o'clock we were still taking high volumes of calls there in the middle of the day. So as you might remember, A-level day results debacle. So following clearing, everybody got their results and they had their offers, and then there was a government U-turn on the use of the famous algorithm, and they reverted to teacher assessed grades. Now the important thing was that we were able to rapidly ramp up our call centre again because we had the technology at our fingertips. So it wasn't a case of having to bus people into the call centre. We could basically just ramp it up, which was brilliant. We re-engaged our agents, and again they spent a few days dealing with students who were either happier or who had different offer holders because their grades have changed. So they either were saying, yes, I want to come now. We previously potentially might have rejected them. And that was just, from a process perspective, really hard. But from the technology perspective, we were really happy with it. So, and then following Welcome Week, COVID cases were all in the news again. We were rapidly be able to configure our call centre up, and we've now sort of started taking calls over the contact centre from potentially concerned parents and students, but we have very, very low numbers at Queen Mary, so we're really happy with that. So it's proving to be a scalable solution. We're now using it on our reception desk, our IT services desk, and there's lots of demand within the organisation to deploy the technology. So in terms of the future, we are looking at the whole sort of inquiry and contact management across the whole student life cycle, because at the moment our students have a whole myriad of ways of interfacing with us, one for IT, another one for student services, another one for, well, you can imagine. So we are looking at sort of trying to harmonise, and again using different channels, but harmonise the whole thing into a student hub. So, we really do want to really go for excellence in inquiry management and offer a really customer focused service, and as that's part of our remit, to be a friendly, welcoming and inclusive community that deals effectively with people's inquiries and gets them on the next step. Just a couple of slides really. So for this approach, we're looking at customer journeys. We have the student journey that we've mapped out from application, offer acceptance, Freshers Week, which we now really call a Welcome Week. Then it's really important the weeks after that, going up to Christmas, in terms of retention of students. We need to basically keep them on board, because that's the key dropout time, actually. Once you get through that, you're normally on the home stretch. Term life is really important for our students. Obviously, it's not just the academic, it's the social side as well. And then graduation, and then obviously keeping in contact with our students through the alumni journey. So all of that really needs to be mapped out in terms of inquiry management and how we keep in contact with our students through that whole journey. And it's the same with staff, actually, from awareness of the institution to applying for a job, working, promotion, potentially exit, and then keeping in contact. So my last slide really is ultimate vision around contact management. So we would like to have a whole contact capability, distributed capability potentially, involving our professional services and our schools and institutions, which can talk effectively to our staff and our students inside Queen Mary, but also with applicants and others from outside of the organisation. So it needs to interface with our unified comms strategy, our CRM system, and be a single platform, multi-channel, scalable, replaces legacy solutions, be really resilient, and work with our existing digital workplace and integrate with our business systems like case management, for example. So that's a real challenge, actually, to get the whole thing working. So we need a staff and a student hub that really works as a single point of contact. So in conclusion, I think we've been fairly successful because ironically we were very time constrained and hence very focused. We had a great project team that worked across and between Queen Mary functions. We developed a really strong relationship with Britannic and had several interactions at different levels. So I had frequent calls with Jonathan, and my team had calls with people appropriate for their particular technical endeavour. We tested and tested. We really did test the deaf outfit, so that was really important. Massive investment in training and awareness for our staff involved in clearing end-to-end. We thought through the risks really extensively and mitigated them, and we were really honest with our Queen Mary executive about the risk, because it was a risky project. I mean, it was a risky thing to set up this capability in 3 months and to deliver it and get it to work on the day, as it were, because there was no sort of pilot, to be honest, really. And we said there was, but really the pilot was the day. And as one of my team said, we're sort of like flying second flight with passengers on board, to use an aerospace analogy. But we took risks and we were bold and brave in our approach. And we now look forward to broadening our whole inquiry management approach across the student life cycle. So any questions for me as a result of the presentation?
Rachel, thank you so much. Brilliant presentation, and also true professional dealing with the technical glitches before we were able to get you onto the platform this morning.
No problem.
So for me, I mean, you know, great project, and what was really important was coming together as a team. As you said, being bold and brave, you know, having that vision of what you wanted to deliver and the value both to the university and to the student community, and it really was excellent team working across all levels, and you know, it was highly charged and very critical to the university. You obviously shared with us the timescales and the importance of clearing, and I think you know, the importance of working together to solve problems, and you know, standing shoulder to shoulder to deliver what was an excellent solution and outcome, and a platform to build upon. So, you know, I'd like to thank you and the team for the support and the confidence that you showed us as well.
Yeah, it's a great project, and it's good working with you. Definitely, Jonathan. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm just aware my camera is not on, but I don't seem to be able to turn it on. So hopefully that's not too much of a problem.
Yes, no issue. We got to hear, you know, we got to hear it in full stereo. So perfect. If there's any questions, please do put them into the chat, and you know, we'll see if we can answer them. Okay, so we got a question from Laura Sands. So she asked, how many applicants were you aiming to take from clearing this cycle, and what proportion of your overall intake was this?
To be honest, I'm not able to share those figures with you. Sorry. It was a high number, basically. We normally take, well, roughly, I think we take about 30 to 40% on clearing, but I'm not able to share the actual numbers, but that's probably about the proportion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just having a look. And I think, you know, the training of people to use handsets, that's a comment there. Interesting. Yeah. He had to train students to use a handset.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's not joking, really. We had to show them how to pick up a phone and dial and receive a call. Yeah, it was incredible. So, you know, students are completely used to mobile phones now. So yeah, interesting, yeah.
And I think, you know, you've talked about training and testing, and, you know, clearly that is absolutely critical for a successful project. You know, we've talked a lot over the last 3 days about the importance of users being able to engage with the technology and cultural adoption. So, you know, again, you know, I think the approach that you guys took around training and testing was fantastic, really strong. And I think what's important is to ultimately be working together around clarity around what that user acceptance testing and what success looks like. So I think you know, that was something that you know, certainly came to the fore with me, was making sure that all levels of the team were absolutely clear, not just on the objective and the end goal, but the mechanics of how the thing needed to work for people.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a question from Joe Yeadon. So how was your CRM before the project?
Yeah, so we didn't change the CRM during the project. We interfaced with it. So our CRM is Hobson's at the moment. It's probably going end of life at the moment. We did interface with it, and actually that was one of the things that we had to disconnect just before, because we did find that there were some issues with the integration. So, you know, that showed obviously the benefits of testing. We found that the CRM interface was causing us problems with BizView. So we basically did the integration in a different way. But yeah, hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant. I think that unless there's any more, the last one that's just popped in is, in terms of the new technologies around, are you thinking of using any more technologies in the future, AI, for example, to manage some of the interactions?
Yeah, I think we need to up the use of the chatbot actually, and really develop that side of things, because that can really, I mean, for common questions, that can take the heat out and divert your resources onto actually real student interactions when they're needed. So yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then actually we just got another question from John O'Grady. This is an interesting one as well, because of you know, actually how this technology was deployed. But the question is, are you planning soft client deployment to replace handsets before the next clearing exercise?
Well, we didn't use any handsets during this clearing exercise at all. So the bigger question is what we're doing about replacing handsets right across the organisation.
Yeah.
So next year will be a similar setup, I would imagine, as we're using this year. And we didn't have any handsets, but yes, we're highly dependent on handsets right through the organisation. Although having said that, a lot of people are working from home and are not reliant on handsets, but certainly departments who regularly interface externally, we need to think about soft phones.
Yeah, and it was, again, you know, that's part of the technology mix, right? It was deploying soft phone workers, headsets, and you know, all over the vagaries of the home broadband.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so if there's any final questions, please do pop them up there. But yeah, Rachel, really insightful. You know, it demonstrates what can be achieved. You know, with a strong vision, strong commitment, and partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, we were. Yes, highly challenged, but highly successful. I think.
Absolutely.
In fact, we're the only university, I think, that had a fully remote call centre in this way. So we're quite very innovative in our approach.
Yeah, and you know, there were certainly a number of high-profile challenges other universities experienced through clearing.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to say all the universities that we were supporting and the solutions that we've delivered, thankfully, touch wood, that you know, again, similar success stories. But this was very much a, you know, a innovative, groundbreaking project to be able to unify all these different channels into the interface at home for you know, over 400 workers. So yeah, fantastic job.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay. All right.
Catch you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.